if you're serious about change, you have to go through uncomfortable situations. Stop trying to dodge the process. It's the only way to grow. Absolutely. Shout out to the author who created this quote. This, if you clicked on this is not by coincidence. You needed to hear this. You know, you might be going through a time in your life where you're unsure about how to go. You know, you might feel like something is happening in your life. You know, you feel like something's wrong and you want to make changes, but you don't know where to start or you don't know how to go about change, you know. And I just want to let you guys know that change does require facing those uncomfortable situations, uncomfortable truths. Like you have to, it's change is not comfortable. Okay? When you want growth, you're going to be stretched and pulled and you're going to be beat up on, you know, because you're transforming. If you want to go from one state of mind to another, you have to transmute and you have to purge. You have to open your mindset to new ways of thinking and being and doing, and you have to get rid of old habits and old ways and old belief systems. You have to kill off things that are not able to survive where you're trying to be, if that makes sense. So if you are truly serious about changing and growing, you have to understand that you're going to have to get comfortable with feeling uncomfortable. In that feeling of uncomfortability, that is where the growth, that is where the change is happening. That is where the transformation is happening. And what happens is a lot of us, when we get to that feeling of uncomfortability, that's unfamiliar territory and it doesn't feel good. So what we do, we run back. We scare ourselves away from the whole process and we run back into comfort. We run back to where it was easy. You know, we run back to where it's predictable. We know the outcome of what's going on, but you have to understand, if you want to get somewhere and do something and be somebody that you've never been, you have to be okay with the unpredictability. You have to be okay with the unknown, okay, guys? Because you're building a new way. You're forging a new path. So if you are truly serious about making this change, if you want to embark on your spiritual journey, your healing journey, you want to become a better person, you want to feel again, you want to be, you want to feel like life is alive again inside and your soul isn't dead, you have to do the uncomfortable work, you know? So it requires you to be honest with yourself. It requires you to address those bad habits of yours that you've been doing that is preventing you from getting to your next level. It's going to require you to address those parts of yourself that you hide from the world, that you might feel ashamed of, that you might be upset at. You know, it requires you to really get down and dirty and do that inner work. You know, and that's not comfortable because you have to face things that you probably put under a rug or ignored for years. And so you have to understand that this is a part of that process of change and growth. You will be uncomfortable. It's not going to be a comfortable, fun, easy, quick process. True growth, true change requires the unknown, the unpredictability, and the uncomfortability of your spirit. Like you have to go through the mud. Just like a butterfly. It doesn't start off a butterfly, it starts off as a caterpillar, but then it goes through this cocoon stage. You know, so it starts off as this worm, but then it goes into a cocoon, And the transformation begins. And I'm sure that's an uncomfortable process because you go from a worm to a bug with wings. So everything literally has to die and be broken down within to build something new. So that's not always going to feel good, and it's not always going to look good, because before new creation and new life, you have to, destruction and death has to occur. And that's not comfortable, and it's not always fun, but it's most certainly worth it. So you listening to this, I hope you needed this message to understand that it's not going to be comfortable, and that is okay. That is your sign that you are doing the right thing when things start to become challenging and uncomfortable, because now it's forcing you to do better. It's forcing you to make different decisions and choices, so that way you can create new habits to create a new you and create a new life. Y'all know how we do over here. It is Car. I love y'all. I will see y'all on my next one.